welcome. In 1971, when Jack Kirby left Marvel Comics and started working exclusively for DC, Kirby intended to use this opportunity to create more substantial material. The Fourth World titles are the most obvious example of this intent. Kirby also envisioned utilizing a variety of comic book formats. According to Mark Evanier, Kirby wanted to expand the medium beyond the restrictions of the monthly 32-page comic book format. In essence, Kirby wanted to experiment with the medium. Kirby's inspiration was taken from the so-called European albums that were being imported to North America. These albums were high-quality reproductions of comic books that were, usually, serialized in magazines. Some examples would be Hergé's Tintin and Asterix by Goscinny and Uderzo. Both examples were well regarded and quite popular in both Europe and North America. Apparently, Kirby pitched a variety of ideas and formats to DC, one of which being a high-quality magazine. DC greenlit two magazine ideas, True Divorce Cases and In the Days of the Mob. DC apparently suggested a supernatural title to Kirby. This suggestion would become Spirit World. Another title, Soul Love, was also proposed at this time. This project was delayed due to editorial concerns over the depiction of African Americans. As can be seen on the original artwork, DC altered the characters' faces. The reason for these alterations are unknown, but likely related to the aforementioned concerns. Regardless, this production delay and the lack of success of Spirit World and In the Days of the Mob resulted in this series being cancelled before any issues were printed. Originally, Kirby intended these magazines to be in full color and printed on slick paper, much like a standard newsstand magazine. Presumably, DC was hesitant to invest in an expensive magazine format. In the end, it was decided to publish these as black and white magazines, very similar to the successful contemporary examples of Creepy and Eerie. In the Days of the Mob was a standard black and white magazine, while Spirit World was printed using blue ink rather than black ink. It was an odd choice, but in my opinion, it does slightly enhance the experimental nature of the magazine itself. Spirit World itself is definitely an interesting, obscure addition to the Kirby bibliography. For the most part, it's about paranormal topics that were popular at the time. The thread connecting all of these disparate stories together is the host/narrator, Dr. Leopold E. Mass, a specialist in the new field of research, parapsychology. In my opinion, Spirit World is like a print version of the Leonard Nimoy series In Search Of. Of course, Spirit World predates that TV series by 6 years. The cover was drawn by Kirby. DC sent it to Neil Adams, their go-to cover artist at the time. Adams redrew the cover, following Kirby's layout and design. The first story concerns a psychic premonition of the Kennedy assassination. The second story is about a haunted house. The third story, written and photographed by Mark Evanier and Steve Sherman, Kirby's assistants at the time, is, an enigmatic piece about cults. The next story concerns reincarnation. This is followed by a full-text piece written by Evanier and Sherman with mixed media backgrounds by Kirby. The magazine concludes with a brief look at the predictions of Nostradamus. The inside back cover is one-panel cartoons by Sergio Aragones. It's the only page of artwork not done by Kirby. Most of the material reads like Kirby wondering out loud on the page. He seems quite interested in paranormal topics, but he hasn't a firm opinion on them. As a creative person, Kirby appears to be interested in the story possibilities of the paranormal, rather than determining the veracity behind any of the claims represented. Kirby was, after all, a storyteller. He exclusively worked with ideas. He didn't necessarily pursue the discovery of real-world truths. Ultimately, both magazine projects were cancelled shortly after being published. According to Evanier, neither magazine received proper distribution. By his account, he saw boxes of Spirit World sitting in a warehouse in Los Angeles, never reaching the newsstands. Copies that did make it to the newsstands were shelved with other magazines. This disguised the fact that it was a comic book in a larger format, rather than a magazine with comic book material. Therefore, its intended audience, more mature comic book readers, was never aware of its existence. Furthermore, as far as one can tell, there was very little or no promotional material to interest an audience in this new Kirby product. It may be reasonable to speculate that DC had no confidence in this format, and they put in a minimal amount of effort to accommodate Kirby's experimental creative necessity. Also, one might suggest that the immediate failure of this magazine project may have been justification or evidence DC used to suggest to Kirby that his audience expected regular comic book work from him. Again, this is speculation. An entire second issue of Spirit World was written and drawn prior to Cancellation. As a result, DC repurposed these pages and included them in 2 separate horror titles the following year. Weird Mystery Tales number 1 includes Horoscope Phenomenon. The second issue includes Toxel, the World Killer, and the third issue includes The Burners. Forbidden Tales of Dark Mansion number 6 includes the story The Psychic Bloodhound. All of these stories were originally created for the second, unpublished issue of Spirit World. Spirit World is Jack Kirby putting everything he has on the comic book page. Certainly, Kirby always tried to do his best work. This was a characteristic that defined his overall career. But with Spirit World, Kirby appears to be pushing his artistic capabilities, or perhaps more accurately, he's trying to find new abilities to utilize in his work. One example of this statement is Kirby's mixed media compositions. They are highly surreal and abstract. While he did use this technique in Fantastic Four and later in The Fourth World, it was always done sparingly. In Spirit World, Kirby provides 6 full pages of these compositions, all of which are rather interesting pieces of artwork. The short Fumetti story, Children of the Flaming Wheel, is less successful as a composition, but it's so bizarre and enigmatic, it's almost impressive. In my opinion, it's this effort, or this creative exploration, that makes a work of this nature worthwhile. Whether it succeeds as a satisfying reading experience, or whether the stories arrive at a fulfilling conclusion, is somewhat irrelevant. Because, in the end, Spirit World represents a creator trying to discover new forms of expression within the medium. Given the necessary time and opportunity, Kirby could have produced some interesting, more mature genre material like Spirit World. He simply needed the time to develop a voice that was appropriate for the material. Aesthetically, the artwork is as dynamic as one would expect from Kirby. However, it is tempered and less bombastic in comparison to his superhero work. This assessment also applies to the other Kirby magazine, In the Days of the Mob. Both are examples of Kirby's incredible ability to stage a scene. That is, all the visual information necessary to tell the story is available in every panel, and he accomplishes this organically, without any panel looking crammed or visually false. In the end, Spirit World is an interesting and obscure piece of Kirby material. It represents a creator trying to expand his method of expression within a medium that was just beginning to open up to more experimental types of work. That's it for today. Like, share, subscribe, and comment, and I will talk at you later. Until next time.